Good morning. Thank you very much, Manuel and Gabriel, for this kind invitation and give me the opportunity to talk about our program in Spain. I am a researcher at the Pyrenean Institute of Ecology, which is part of the Spanish National Research Council. And my institute is located not exactly in Catalonia. In fact, we are neighbors from Catalonia. It's Aragon, the region. It's the northeast of Spain, very similar territory. So my institute is famous, let's say, for having a very large, the third largest herbarium in Spain. And in 2000, more or less, a colleague of mine, the responsible of the herbarium, decided also to launch like a virtual herbarium. And when we analyzed the information we got in the herbarium, we discovered that since the year 2000, more or less, people from the academia, the botanists, the professional botanists, stopped almost recording plants. So what we include in the herbarium now is, in fact, information provided by volunteers or non-professional people. This is interesting. The researchers are like doing bureaucracy, basically, instead. Well, we all know that it's very frequent that in the morning we wake up with very bad news about the state of the nature, extinctions, invasions, etc. And also in the scientific community, it's very common to forecast a dark future of biodiversity based basically on climatic models. In fact, for example, the Living Planet Index very recently stated that based on more than 32,000 populations of aquatic and terrestrial vertebrates, there was a decline of almost 70% of population sizes since 1970. However, some reviews also cast a doubt about that. For example, some researchers discovered that if you remove just a little fraction of the temporal series they used, then the planet index would be much more stable. Also that these strong increasing or decreasing populations were associated to very short-term temporal series. And also some other researchers found out that basically we are not monitoring exactly what we decide it should be monitored. I mean that we decide which species should be priority, but however, we don't have information about most of them, like in the United Kingdom, for example, with the groups of plants. Okay, so maybe we cannot still make a lot of generalizations on how is the dynamics of a biodiversity and need much more real information on how it is doing in the field. In this context, the Adopta plant was conceived. It was launched in 2010 as a pilot study. And the main goal of this project is to discover how populations of plant species are doing in the real world in the current scenario of global changes. And we are using basically the very detailed demographic information on populations of many kinds of plants, of many kinds of life forms, and across many kinds of habitats. We don't use any digital device. So our main goal, as I say, is to detect early warning signals of decline before it is too late, before extinction. So it would be a tool for better facing the challenge of halting biodiversity loss. And the three main objectives, as you can see there, was to build a community, a network of people committed to with the long-term monitoring of plant populations. And the premise is that everybody can collaborate. You don't have to know anything about plants, in fact, because you will be trained for that. Second, that we wanted to generate a high-quality data sets of populations abundance or density through time to produce these very standardized indicators. In fact, that's what we call trends, or in percentage how much is increasing or decreasing a population of a plant, and explore also the dynamics of, as I said, many different life forms and habitats, and also, of course, estimate the extinction risk, and bring together also scientists, three different communities: scientists, managers, who are the responsibles for the managing of the conservation actions, and the society, the volunteers. Okay, and this is the kind of information we are gathering with this program, like abundance of plant populations in fixed plots, as I will explain now. So the first thing we did was to make a list of interesting plants, the threatened ones, but also the ones that are structural of habitats of community interest, for example, for the European Union. And we discovered we have more than 150 plant species. And in my region also we have almost any habitat of interest at general scale, let's say, in Europe, except the coastal or the marine ones. So it's a very heterogeneous region that goes from almost the sea level till 3,350 meters high. In second place, what we do, we started to arrange meetings with naturalistic associations, but also with some individual people that we have contact with them through the herbarium, for example, and also with the rangers, which are working in the place, I mean in nature, and they are completely devoted to monitor plant or animal populations, but he didn't do it at all for plants, only for animals at that time when we started. Third, we carry out an intensive mentoring through, for example, personal training in the field. So we go always with them to the field when we select a population that a team or a person is going to monitor. Through time, we go with them or with him or her to the population and tell them and fix, after a consensus, of course, with them, how the monitor is going to be, because it's going to be different for any population, team, and species. Okay? And after that, of course, we have to prepare a dossier for them to be able to relocate the place, the population, all the plots, because they are fixed, year after year for at least 10 years. That's the commit they make with us. So as I said, every monitoring scheme is slightly at least different for each team and species and population. Here you have some examples on how they carry out this monitoring. Remember, what they monitor is the abundance, what they record is the abundance in fixed plots along transects or whole populations, whatever. We adapt completely the sampling scheme to any situation. And then we make also an Excel file, so with some formulas, also in order for them to introduce the information and they can see graphically how the population is doing. And also it helps them to validate information. And after every summer or every year, they send this information to us, which must validate all the information and start maybe a chat with them. How was there? Was it fine? Did you have any trouble? Whatever. Okay, so we need to talk to them permanently to make sure that they are happy with what they are doing, and also that the information is valid for us. Fourth, we celebrate a day every year after field work. It's usually in September, October, when we arrange a big meeting and we go to different natural places, not very well known yet, so that they enjoy discovering a new place. And then what we do is to present all the results after the year. So, and present new collaborators or whatever, or new activities we have, whatever. So they know exactly what they are doing. They can know each other because they come from different provinces also. And we spend a day there together doing an excursion with some professionals. They can learn plants. And we also give them a certificate when they achieve the 10th year at least. So as veteran collaborators, let's say. We also arrange some different activities through the year, like a newsletter for people that cannot, for example, join the Adopt a Plant celebration, the annual celebration. So they are informed about what is going on in the project. We give them also some merchandising, some small gifts as a reward for their effort. and also arrange some courses, activities, excursions, etc. Here you can see some of the celebrations we arranged. You can see the flag of the LIFE because we started with a LIFE project there. And this is what we got. We have in our region, we have now like 250 monitoring sites. In each site, we might have more than one species, okay? And the same species can be monitored in different sites too. So it's a kind of mess for that. And they are monitoring like 210 different species. 30% of them are considered or cataloged as threatened or endangered by official list, either in the territory, in the region, or at national or European level. And as I said, they are monitoring like in total like 300 plant populations. Most of them, like 70% of them, are inside the Nature 2000 network. I forgot to tell you also that sometimes when we have a target, a very endangered species, we try also to incorporate a very common species or a threatening species growing by that species so that we can compare also how the threatened and the common species are doing, if they are doing together well or bad, or one is doing well and the other bad. And these are the main results. What we found when we compare these priority species versus the non-priority species, it was interesting to discover that no matter how the size of the population was, that for small, medium, or large plant populations, priority species were more stable in terms of population growth rate, because that's our indicator, maybe I didn't mention, and they were less fluctuating through time. This is our very first conclusion. And last year, for example, we had a very dry and hot summer. We compared the population growth rates of our monitored plants, and it was not so different from the rest of the distribution of the whole period they had been monitored. This figure is based in more than 3,000 population growth rates. So that's not bad news. And it means that we cannot assume that if animal populations are doing really bad, plant populations are doing bad as well. As you can see here, also this is our list of plant species. Red dots correspond to priority species, and blue ones to non-priority species. And as you can see there, the size of the dot represents how long is the data set, the temporal series. And as you can see, the priority species are usually closer to the stable population growth rate. Okay, this is what we call their population abundance change. So they are more stable. So as conclusions, I would say that collaborative programs like the Adopt a Plant program, which is supervised by scientists in this case, are a very promising tool for tackling the huge task of monitoring biodiversity. And as a showcase, in Spain, we were able to build this collaborative program and produce high-quality data sets. The information they are gathering or recording for us would be probably impossible to be paid by any administration. And what we found, as you saw, is that threatened species, so far at least in this 13 years period we have been monitoring them, tend to be more stable than other less vulnerable species. Just let me present very, very briefly 3 more projects or activities we are carrying out with also basically with some collaborative approach about plant populations, visitors, not only pollinators, and the landscapes where they occur. We, of course, use PlantNet and iNaturalist and promote people to use these apps, apps using artificial intelligence. We are promoting them, especially in protected spaces, and distributing some small manuals or guides for people to lose, not to be afraid, because many of our collaborators are grown up. I mean, they are old people sometimes that they have spare time. We also, this is a Finnish project in which we inventoried all kinds of arthropods visiting rare plants, 6 species, because we were interested in knowing how much biodiversity these rare plants were able to sustain, especially when you compare, if they live in a very small population. So we compare small populations, the diversity of visitors of small populations versus large populations. And to carry out this project, of course, we needed the collaboration of very many non-professional and professional taxonomists for these arthropods. And finally, we are also trying to know how much the habitats have changed through the last century, so the places where plants live. And for that, we launched also a collaborative project in which we use very old, what we call centennial pictures, the oldest pictures we can find in libraries and so on. And then we put all these pictures in a gallery. They are open to everybody so that people can help us to identify where they were taken and also to repeat exactly the same picture. And then we can analyze with some special software and know which habitats have been more stable or have changed the most through the last 100 years. And I think that's all. Thank you very much.